more because of that.
Thank you. Lord Alton, you have a supplementary.
Thank you very much. At our last session, Sir Malcolm Evans and Professor Haynes also identified this yawning gap that you've spoken about today, this absence of human rights in UNCLOS, and we asked them whether there would be any point in the United Kingdom raising this at the United Nations Human Rights Council, taking an initiative, and both of them were very optimistic about the traction that this might develop and that it would be well worth the while of the United Kingdom to take such an initiative. I wonder if you agree with that, and who is working on such a project, and how do we ensure that it encompasses everything from duties to fleeing refugees, which, as you've said, has been happening on a hitherto unimaginable scale, to the position of people being raped, which you mentioned a few moments ago, to the terrible labour conditions of deep water fishing vessels that can be at sea for years on end. Is there a comprehensive series of amendments to UNCLOS to address those disturbing omissions? And if not, who should be doing it?
Dr. Galani.
Well, I would be strongly in favor of the UK taking such a step. I think it is true that human rights at sea, the protection of human rights at sea, is gaining more and more attention. And we've seen more references in the reports of the Secretary General with reference to UNCLOS. We've seen soft law initiatives by NGOs such as Human Rights at Sea, that is drafting a declaration on human rights at sea. We've seen a lot of writings that have to do with the protection of migrants, and so on and so forth. I think this could be done through the Human Rights Council. Potentially a discussion could be initiated in the International Maritime Organization as well, although we have to bear in mind that the IMO does not have human rights jurisdiction. But such a discussion could be initiated in that forum as well, exactly because the members of the IMO are members that have open registries. So it could be a good forum to invite those states to participate in the dialogue and make them aware and more involved in the process of finding a solution to the problem of protecting human rights at sea.
Professor Klein, sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry. I thought you'd finished. Professor Klein, is there anything you wish to add?
Well, I think that I would also support the United Kingdom trying to pursue this issue, because I agree that there is very much growing momentum around this issue, just because there has been some very good investigative journalism that have exposed the scale of the problem. But it is something that affects a wide number of countries. I know, for example, in the Pacific region, some of the Pacific islands have been particularly concerned about the way that their nationals are being treated when they are on fishing vessels that are flagged to other states, and in some respects feel somewhat vulnerable or don't have the political power to be able to pursue these concerns with other states where they are dependent on that fishing industry for livelihoods in different ways. So I think going to a forum like the United Nations has the advantage of actually probably being able to bring together a fairly wide number of states that would have interests in this issue, and also hopefully to try and avoid some of the fragmentation we see where the IMO deals with some sort of safety issues around rescuing people at sea. The International Labour Organization is dealing with seafarers more specifically, and then you have regional fisheries management organizations that are just concerned about their industry as such. So I think there's a need to go to a forum which would bring a lot of those stakeholders together.